Hi Hinsters, welcome back to the channel, and if you're new, welcome too. My name is Hinny. I am a spiritual astrologer, and happy Pisces season. We have just begun Pisces season as I film, and this stream, which will be a video, this video is on the full moon in Virgo, which is happening officially or around February 24th at 5 degrees. So we have the moon. She is going to be at 5 degrees of Virgo, and the sun will be 5 degrees of Pisces. Now, I do have a video already on what is a full moon, so you can check that out. I will put a video card up later for that. But very briefly, full moons are moments of culmination. They are kind of the crazy, wacky moments. They are moments of letting go. They are moments of elation and overspilling and this kind of thing, and reactivity, this kind of thing. And they're also moments of realization. And we have Virgo then, the sign of Virgo. This is the mutable earth feminine sign, and Mercury ruled, and it is the feminine expression of Mercury. And archetypes of Virgo include the hermit and turtles and foxes. To me, Virgo is the tree whisperer, and Virgo as a sign and as a season is about the divinity in the decision. So sometimes the anxiety over, or the thought process about, the decisions that we have to make. Virgo season is the half point of the astrological year, and Pisces season, Virgo's opposite, is the last point of the astrological year. And so they both mark very interesting shake-up moments for a lot of people, these 2 points of the year. All mutable signs, by the way, having a kind of shake-up or breaking down type of energy. And then anyway, the host of this full moon is Mercury, and we have Mercury in his or its detriment and combust the sun in the sign of Pisces. And we also have Saturn there in Pisces, combust the sun. And we have the moon making this trine as well to Jupiter in Taurus. And I quite like that because we have this trine. Trines are ruled by Jupiter, and Jupiter and the moon are having this kind of mutual reception or conversation, maybe. Let's put it that way, conversation. Jupiter is the ruler of Pisces and finds difficulty with Virgo. And the moon, being in Virgo then, yes, is conversing with Jupiter in this way through this trine. So I do think this full moon, in perhaps profound levels, is going to be quite a significant one, or magical one, or meaningful one, or emotional one for a lot of people. But anyway, we have Mars conjunct Venus at the same time in the sign of Aquarius, and we have them both squaring that Jupiter. And we have Jupiter, yes, in Taurus. So this can be also for a lot of people to do with relationships, and also the dynamic of when do I just flow with things, and when do I go against something or fight something or try to run headfirst into something. Adam Ellenbass on his channel, he's one of my favorite astrologers. He describes oppositions as holding the tension, and every opposition every full moon is an opposition. It is in astrology, it is the opposition of the sun and the moon. And oppositions are ruled by Saturn. And yes, we get this holding the tension. We get this very uncomfortable sometimes dynamic or requirement of us around any full moon or many full moons. Also, a lot of the time around full moons, I find that I'm a Cancer rising and I'm a moon rising. But anyway, I do find that I eat a lot more around full moons, especially when I'm not paying attention to the astrology. So it can make people more ravenous or crave things, wild in some sense as well. But yeah, I think also from this Mars-Venus squaring Jupiter at the same time of the full moon, we have things like silence needing to be the responsible thing for some people, or things like wise kindness, and things like only reacting when it's really necessary or when it's urgent or when the time comes. Now, one of my favorite women is Evie Pompuras. I hope I'm pronouncing her surname correctly. But she worked, I think it was for the CIA as a secret agent in the States. But anyway, she has written a lot or spoken a lot about handling yourself and your cool and conduct and things like finding out about liars and things like safety and protecting yourself and self-defense and all these kinds of really interesting things. And a lot of the times she talks about not making anything an issue or a problem until someone physically lays hands on you or physically touches you. Then it can become a reason to react. And I feel like this Venus-Mars square, Venus and Mars in Aquarius square Jupiter in Taurus will be very like that. Like we can allow ourselves to take a lot because we don't give a feck about it, or we're not going to be easily swayed by certain challenges or difficult things or difficult people. And there's no need to get the bull horns out unless there's an actual physical aggression or reason to do so. So I feel like that kind of dynamic will be coming through for a lot of people around this full moon, and kind of a wise kindness, or what I'm going to call the Evie effect. So her effect of nothing is personal until someone really gets in your personal space. And that's not easy at all to practice or even understand at first, but especially around a full moon, because full moons can be very emotional. But we have a lot of Aquarius energy here too, and a lot of Piscean energy just being introduced or more amplified. So there's a lot more of this kind of detachment and just swimming away kind of energy as well. I'm going to make a video on Pisces season very soon, so check that out too. But yeah, this is like full moon in Virgo. Virgo is like a filing cabinet. I've spoken about this before on my channel, I think, with Virgo. Virgo is like a filing cabinet, and Virgo heavy people, or people who have maybe like Mercury in the first house, Mercury in the third house, or Virgo Rising. These kinds of people tend to have a filing cabinet with a drawer on every person who's ever done or said anything in their lives. And they're very good at remembering and detailing and recalling and laying out. They're very good receipts type of people, Virgo heavy people. But we are in Pisces season now, which is the last season of the astrological year. It's the last sign of the zodiac. And so this tension, this Piscean Virgoan tension here, is this opposition, is like closing the filing cabinet. And sometimes that can be hard because Mercury is exalted in Virgo and Mercury is hosting this full moon, but we know that Mercury is going to be at the time in its detriment in Pisces. So there can be confusion or blurring, or fantasizing or over imagining when it comes to this filing cabinet and like the information or the memory, the data that we have on things, on people, on situations. And there can be this temptation to just whip everything out and kind of take people to court, take ourselves to court in spiritual ways. Because Mercury is exalted in the sign of Virgo, but currently, or at the time of the full moon, again, will be in detriment in Pisces. So it can feel topsy-turvy. There can be like a dissolution also of sensibility or substantive actions and feelings, because also Saturn will become Bust the Sun. So there can be a lot more ego around this full moon, or a lot more wanting to show something off. But I feel like this full moon should be more like just trying to close the filing cabinet and kind of be done in a lot of ways with a lot of things now, and getting ready for the spring and Aries season, which is the true beginning of the astrological year, and trying our best to just close those drawers. And there's this word in Korean called or 정리, which is translates as like cleaning often, or sorting out, or settling, or getting things together, cleaning up. And I think that's a really important energy dynamic as well around this full moon. I also think, well, we have the Tarot and we have the Hermit card, which is often associated with Virgo. You can see there's even a turtle or a tortoise in this picture on this card. This is The Wild Unknown by Kim Krantz, by the way. But this is like slow-cooked culminations. This is steady release, this full moon. This is internal releases and internal realizations as well for a lot of people. So I like that. Now let's get into the rising signs. So for each rising sign, what kind of things might be occurring for us around this full moon? So for Virgo Rising, let's start with Virgo Rising. This is your 11th house ruler transiting the 1st house, and the 12th house ruler transiting the 7th house. It's very important for you, obviously, because this is a full moon in your 1st house. And this is stuff like showing you and your partner off, maybe, or even arguments or tensions between you and your partner being displayed or being more amplified. This is also releasing feelings about friendships, or feeling relieved when it comes to friendships somehow. Letting something go when it comes to maybe an overthinking dynamic, that kind of thing. The 1st house, very briefly, is things like your personality, your body, your aura. The 7th house is things like other people, your partners, negotiating, all that kind of jazz. Libra Rising, then. This is your 10th house ruler transiting the 12th house, and the 11th house ruler transiting the 6th house. So for you, I have things like letting go of friends. For some people, letting go of career, closing a chapter, kind of like this filing cabinet. Libra is very cardinal, so there can be this very like swinging of the sword. Wishes as well, maybe letting go of a wish, or a wish coming to its conclusion. This can be losing face for some Libra risings as well. This is teaching friends. This is requiring help from friends, maybe even hiring a friend, Libra rising. The 12th house, very briefly, is things like letting go, self-undoing, but also secret, private solace, that type of thing. Having to go abroad or go afar or be alone, that type of thing. And the 6th house is things like bad fortune, suffering, health, but also hiring other people, needing the service of other people, and also working on your career, working on your reputation. So it could be like a very kind of serious type of full moon where you want to do some letting go or shedding when it comes to maybe like your CV, your resume, your LinkedIn, this type of thing, Libra. Okay, or maybe even like sorting out your memories, bad memories, Libra, or like going through photo albums and deleting things that you don't need or want anymore to be seeing. Anyway, Scorpio Rising, this is your 9th house ruler transiting the 11th house and the 10th house ruler transiting the 5th. This is optimistic wishes. This is high hopes for friends. This is letting a child go in some sense for some people. This is my pleasure as well versus perhaps the needs of my friends. So there could be that dynamic for you, Scorpio. And the 11th house is the house of things like friends, good spirit, and wishes. And the 5th house, very briefly, is the house of things like pets, children, risks, fun, pleasure of the self. Sagittarius Rising, then. This is the 8th house ruler transiting the 10th house and the 9th house ruler transiting the 4th house. Very important for you as well because you are a mutable rising. So all the mutable risings have this full moon on one of their cardinal house axes. So for you, I have having to choose, some of you, between like, do I do the most? Do I flip? Do I rage? Do I fire? Do I roast? Do I go off on someone or something or myself? Or do I just do nothing at all? So there can be this tension of like do the most or do nothing at all. There can also be for you a learning, and it's like a learning of a mysterious lesson or something very unconscious, really bubbling up now. And it can be an uncomfortable lesson. We have here the 10th house, which is the house of big action you might want to take, or reputation, or being up there in the world. And the 4th house, the house of things like rootedness and mystery and subversion. Then we have Capricorn Rising. So Capricorn Rising, this is the 7th house ruler transiting the 9th house for you, and the 8th house ruler transiting the 3rd house. For you, I have things like flipping the script, putting ourselves in other people's shoes. And this is really interesting for you, Capricorn Rising, because every full moon is kind of like a flipping the script. But specifically, I think it has to do for you with like learning or localities versus being further away, or one-on-one stuff versus more abstract stuff, or feminine things, quote unquote, versus more masculine things, quote unquote. Like local teachers versus official teachers, local teachers being like just the people around you who just teach you stuff naturally, like through conversation or through the demonstration of their being, versus like official teachers who you pay or who are at university or school. There's always this flipping the script for Capricorn Rising at a full moon, because the moon is sorry, when we have moon in Virgo, we have the moon in your 9th house and we have the sun in your 3rd house. That's what I wanted to say. So we have the sun at this full moon for you in his opposite his joy, and the moon opposite her joy. So it's very interesting for you, Capricorn Rising. The 9th house, by the way, is things like purposeful journeys, optimism, and your right way. And the 3rd house is the house of things like friends, neighbors, siblings. Aquarius Rising, then we have the 6th house ruler transiting the 8th house and the 7th house ruler transiting the 2nd house. This is for you stuff like paying debt or paying people back in some sense. This is bravely confronting our bad fortune. This is handling also the give and take when it comes to you and your partner or partners, or just you and other people. The 8th house, very briefly, is things like shared contracts. It is things like death as well. It is things like fears or anxieties about the future. And the second house is things like what you put in to things, spending, and also nutrition. Pisces rising, then this is important for you because you are a Pisces and the sun will be in Pisces during this full moon. And this is happening across your 7th and 1st houses. So the 5th house ruler transiting the 7th house for you, and the 6th house ruler transiting the 1st house. So for some of you, this is like fun versus working, that kind of tension or opposition. As in like working on what needs to be done. So there could be some tension there or some challenge. And Pisces, this is also the risks taken with partners or others, because we have the 5th house here involved, or the 5th house ruler involved, which is the ruler of risks. So there could be some kind of riskiness with you and others, or you and a partner. The 7th house being that house of partners, committed partners, the house of negotiation, and the 7th house is the house of open enemies and all that jazz. And the first house, Pisces, is the house of your personality, your health, and your very spirit. Aries rising, then. This is your 4th house ruler transiting the 6th house, and the 5th house ruler transiting the 12th house. For you, I have things like thinking or feeling where and how to start cleaning or restoring a mess. So some of you might be in a mess or experience around this full moon some mess, and so there's this like need to think and feel, how and where do I start to clean up? And also there could be for some challenges at home when it comes to kids, pets, children, anything you are working on or creating or putting out there creatively. And the 6th house is the house of things like bad fortune, the house of suffering and health. And the 12th house is that house of isolation, having to go abroad or go really far. It is the house also of hidden gems and treasures. Then we have the Taurus Rising. So Taurus Rising, this is your 3rd house ruler going through the 5th house, and the 4th house ruler going through the 11th house. So for you, I have things like thinking about your kids' wishes if you have kids, or thinking about nice things to do for your pets, or what would be nice for your pets or your kids or whatever. And this is also risky wishes that pertain perhaps to your house, your home, your homeland, your past, your roots. The 5th house is the house of kids. It is the house of fun. It is the house of risk. And the 11th house is the house of friendships and people who can get you to what and where you want to be. And it is the house also of good spirit. The Gemini Rising, then, I don't know why I keep saying it like that, the Taurus Rising, the Gemini Rising, but let's just go with it. The Gemini Rising, we have the 2nd house ruler transiting the 4th house for you, and the 3rd house ruler transiting the 10th house. So again, as a mutable sign, very important full moon because we have a full moon across one of your cardinal axes. For a lot of Gemini risings, I'm getting this kind of weighing up of how much action or energy you're going to put into something. And for some, it can be like a pressure also to spend on your family or to talk to your family or have to get into some kind of more intense or tense dynamic with some family member. That can be what that's about. The 4th house is the house of family. I mean, they're both family houses, the 4th and 10th houses, but the 4th house much more pertaining to your home, your house, your roots, and the 10th house much more pertaining to different things like your career, big action you need to take, and also your reputation. Okay, Cancer rising then. This is the 1st house ruler or your life path ruler transiting the 3rd house. So this is where she is in her joy, the moon, in the 3rd house. And the 2nd house ruler transiting the 9th house. He is also in his joy. The sun is in his joy. This is what I was trying to explain with Capricorn rising earlier. I'm going quite fast because I need to get this done fast for you. But anyway, also as a Cancer rising, every full moon, every new moon, every moony thing is important for you. But this Virgo full moon is stuff like realizing the divinity in the decision. This is like realizing also that you're ready to let go, you're willing to let go or sacrifice something, or you're ready to react or respond or take responsibility. And this can also be like an interesting mojo that you're feeling or you develop or come to. And it can be like a kind of harmonizing of, or like holisticism of thoughts, beliefs, and principles. It can really be one of those culminative moments that is also kind of like consolidating for you, Cancer Rising, in some sense. The third house then is the house of friends and also how you personally relate. It is the house of things like basics, 101 stuff. And the ninth house is the house of optimism and hope and faith. Finally, Leo rising, then, of course, also important for you because every full moon involves the sun, your life path ruler, Leo rising. And this is your 12th house ruler transiting the second house, and the first house ruler transiting the 8th house. So for some of you, I get getting lost in a fight or the give and take or in attention. And also for some, this can be like pettiness or tit for tat cattiness. We have the moon in your 12th house, and so there can be reactions of yours. I would be very careful, Leo rising, of reacting the wrong way or in a way that you will regret later or at the beginning of the new year. So be careful of that because we have a full moon in your 12th house. Just keep that in mind for some of you. And also this is stuff like helping yourself and health and healing, and also like overcoming fears. What did I write here? Oh yeah, overcoming fears through things like being silent or doing different types of meditation or being on your own or taking some time alone. And I will finally be talking more about this theme of like silence in my next video on Pisces season. But to finish very briefly, Leo, the second house is the house of things like spending your money, like any possessions, stuff that you can move and own for yourself. And the first house is your spirit. It is your body. It's who you are. It is how you see the world as well. That's all from me today. I will get the timestamps done later for you. I hope you enjoyed. Have a lovely beginning to Pisces season, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.